What's up, everyone? We're here for another episode of the Tom Hayden Show, and I am so excited for this one. I think I've said that for every single one so far. But this is another one of my opponents from Indianapolis. We've already had Beanie on from Indianapolis, and this is another person who I became friends with at that tournament. He was my round 7 opponent. We were both 4-2 going into the match. Game 3. Grimmsnarl Iron Ball versus Calyrex Shadow Rider, full health, weakness policy. I'm a relaxed nature Calyrex. I forget how it happened. I was paralyzed too. So I think I used high horsepower to KO the thing next to Grimmsnarl. He uses foul play. My weakness policy gets activated. I get speed control back. That was the main thing in my mind. I'm like, I set the board up so I have speed control again. This is perfect. I get fully paralyzed. I can't use my Glacial Lance. Grimmsnarl uses foul play, KOs me. Jerry wins game 3. I look up, and Jerry is smiling ear to ear. I immediately was like, oh my god, this guy... Like, the way you reacted and just your vibes after, like, winning on that type of play, I was like, I like this guy. Like, he's the real dude. He's a real dude. The way I described is you're unapologetically you. You're smiling ear to ear like, yeah, that was awesome. But, Jerry, from that moment, I was like, oh, I like this guy. And I'm so happy to be talking to you today. I would love if you could just introduce the people to you. Just tell them who you are and how you got started on your Pokemon journey.
Yo, my name is Jerry, and how I got started? Well, it was back in 2010. I ended up finding out about the VGCs by random chance, and I asked my mom and dad, "Ooh, can we go to this event?" So a few months later, I think it was Georgia
How old were
for the
you in 2010?
2010 hmm,
How old were you in
let's
2010, if you don't mind me asking?
let's see, born in '93,
I'm
so
94.
around
So,
17, if I remember right.
and you and your mom and dad went down to Georgia?
No, 16. Yeah,
Oh, wow. And,
yeah.
yeah,
Competed in my first event, and I lost the very first round.
that probably happens to so many people.
Yeah, got frustrated by that loss, so I ended up working pretty hard with my next tournament in 2011.
Okay.
It's like, though back then I never knew about the stuff like Nugget Bridge or Showdown, so I was just kind of making whatever teams I could from scratch with what I had.
They were probably really out there teams knowing you too. I would love to see what you were cooking up back then. It was probably unlike anything anyone else was using.
If I remember right, it had Hydreigon and Electros. It was such a long time ago, but somehow I end up making top 16 with it when I end up losing to a beat up Terrakion. Well, I mean a Terrakion with like a Whimsicott that knows beat up.
I know what you meant. Thank you for clarifying for the people that didn't know, actually.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah, I said thank you for clarifying that for the people that might not get that. But yeah, no. So getting Terrakion set up with beat up is just such a classic strategy now because it's literally been going on since 2011. Holy shit. And it still works. Beat up, we saw beat up Annihilate everywhere in San Diego.
Yeah, I forgot about that with Annihilate.
Yeah, the Mousehold Rage Fist Annihilate one. It's still a valid strategy this many years later. Holy shit. And then,
Though
yeah, go, go, go,
yeah,
go.
I didn't really start getting involved in the community until around 2010, 2012, when someone helped me put together my sand team with Hippowdon.
Okay. And
This was when they first started Swiss.
so
Tournament didn't go.
was it best of 3 or best of 1 at that point too?
It was best of one Swiss, and
Okay.
they didn't have a top cut. It was just finish your Swiss rounds, and that was it.
And whoever gets first gets first?
Yep.
Holy shit. That actually
Yeah.
is so much different. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I didn't really start kicking off really well until 2013 when we had Black and White too.
Okay.
Back then, I was putting together a team for the Athens regionals, and I had some help from a guy on Cerebi. Back then, I knew him by his name, known as Joel as himself. He ended up giving me an idea for a team, and I helped him refine that idea.
Okay.
He couldn't make it to the event himself, so in his place, I took the finished team and headed over to Athens. I still remember back then the team ended up having the Chandelure, which I know and love right now, with Cassibberry, and a Habanberry Latias.
Okay. And this was
They're quite a...
wait, this was Athens 2013?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I was waiting for Oh, tell me more, yeah.
Yeah. There were quite a few scary matches, and one of my top cuts for the and one of my early top cut matches for that tournament was against the guy that I lost against in the Swiss rounds. Though I think the hardest match out of all of them was when I was going against a guy named Ryan Booker. Though I think folks might know him now as LOL Fail Snail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go shoot him a follow. Yeah, I gotta go shoot him a follow too.
Yeah, they still have one of the matches online through the Nugget Bridge YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a few lucky breaks with that match and a few unlucky ones too, but somehow I managed to win. To this day, I still can't believe that actually happened.
And when you say win, this is the whole regional, you mean, right?
This was top 4.
This was top 4. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Then there was 2015.
That's what I thought.
Boy,
Yeah.
that was a hot streak.
Did you go on any tournaments in 2014?
I went to another one in Georgia. Ended up using Mega Maywild, Chandelure, and a Shadow Tag Gothitelle.
And how'd you do?
And a Rhydon.
Eviolite?
Yep.
How'd you do in that tournament?
I got top 16 again.
And now let's talk about Athens 2015, the one you won. If I'm not mistaken, you went 24-1, right?
Yeah, that was a really fun Saturday.
That seems like an understatement. So just to let you know, you're the third regional winner we've had on. We had the Ashby boys, Mason and Abel, who won Salt Lake City in their age group in juniors and seniors, and then Abel won NAIC in juniors, and now you have you're the next regional winner on the show. Thank you for joining me again. Like, I love that I have your time here, and I cannot wait to hear you talk about this Saturday. That was a fun Saturday. Seems like a little bit of an understatement, Jerry.
Yeah. So it's like very first round, I think I end up going against a guy who would eventually make it to the top 16, if I remember right.
Okay.
It's like somewhere during the match he ended up having a Rotom out, and I had Thundurus and Venusaur out, and I end up beating him in that set because I called him switching out the Rotom into Salamence, hit him with Hidden Power Fire and a Sludge Bomb to knock it out. It's like, and right in the top 16, I ended up fighting another guy who ended up using a team similar to him. He had a Rotom and Mega Salamence too.
Okay.
somehow end up beating him in a set the exact same way as that other guy.
The stars were aligning for you that day, Jerry. To call that type of a hard switch in 2 separate matches and KO the Venusaur switch? Oh, bro.
Yeah, he switched out Rotom into Salamence.
That takes some balls. That's awesome that you made those hard reads then, too.
Yeah. And there was this one guy that I ended up going against in the last round. He ended up using a Sandforce Landorus Eye.
Okay.
Let me tell you, that thing was trouble. It kept on ended up doing so much, and I couldn't really do all that much because my main guys were Chandelure and Mawile.
Yeah.
I still don't know how, but I managed to win 2-0 against him. But I would not like to have to face him in the later rounds. Eventually I ended up losing in the top 4, and the person he lost to in the top 4 was the same guy that I played against regularly as a training partner back then.
So your finals match was against one of your prep partners?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Do you know a guy named Cameron Swan?
No, I don't believe I do, but go shoot him a follow if you know him on social. Oh, God.
I'm not really sure what he's up to nowadays, but from what I remember, he actually made an appearance at one of the World Championships.
Damn. And you beat him in the finals match, and he was your prep partner going into... Oh, my God. Were you so nervous playing a friend that you had played with that team exactly before? Or were you, confident? Were you kicking his ass in practice?
It wasn't all that exciting. We played against each other countless times, so it kind of felt like another set we were doing.
That has to be such a good feeling then. Instead of having all these nerves being in that final match to call yourself a regional champion, and you're like, oh, I've done this a million times. I've played this guy in Pokemon a million times. There's just going to be more eyeballs this time. Oh, wow, Jerry. That's a really cool mentality, actually. I would have been the opposite. I would have been so nervous.
I don't think they started streaming stuff until 2016, 2018. When did they start streaming matches, regionals like that?
Bro, you're the OG. I just started during COVID. I don't know. I would ask you that question. What's it called? Let me Google it right now. When did Pokemon start streaming matches? Yeah, so actually Ashby was telling me Ashby was telling me that they there's a lot of matches just lost in history, lost in the annals of time, because Pokemon didn't have the best recording setup back then.
Yeah. If I remember right, people didn't start seriously keeping track of the Pokemon info until 2013. At least as far as the common stuff. At least as far as the regular stuff you see.
Yeah.
I know at False Light, they normally don't talk a lot about Pokemon stuff, VGC stuff, until they hit 2015.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know how to find when they started streaming games either. So yeah, no, this is a really cool piece of history that not many people would know about unless they go out of their way to Google it. And I remember it was so funny. So after the regional, Pengy won Indianapolis. So after Indianapolis, I'm hanging out with Carney, I'm hanging out with Nino, I'm hanging out with KD. I tell, a bunch of people to come by. And we're all at Brothers Patio. And I get a text from Jerry, and he's like, are you at Brothers right now? I was like, yeah, come through, hang out. And you start telling us about the 2015 regional, and I Google your team, and I see that Chandelure that you had used against me in Indy, too. I was like, oh my God, this dude just loves Chandelure. How did your team come together back then? Or was it mostly around Chandelure and Mawile? Or, what was the light bulb moment, you would say?
Well, I normally pick a Pokemon that I like as a base, and after that, I think about what its strengths and weaknesses are, and focus mainly on covering them or enhancing its strengths. It's why with a lot of my early teams, you saw Chandelure and Gastrodon together.
Mm.
Yeah,
Because they cover for
Chandelure
each other
sets up.
so well.
Yeah, Chandelure sets up the Trick Room and roast grass types, while Gastrodon draws in water moves with Storm Drain, and then takes out Heat Ram with Earth Power.
And that's why I could see Lando I with Sandforce being a problem too. You're like, oh my god, what am I gonna do?
Hmm. Most I could really do was just hope Gastrodon survives long enough to land his Ice Beam.
And you won 2-0, so it did.
Hmm. Meanwhile, did help out a bit.
Yeah, talk to me about Maywile. What were you using that thing for? What was that set like?
It was just a strong Maywile. It had Iron Head, Rock Slide, Protect, and Sucker Punch, I think.
Pretty standard set. Alright. I like that. Man. Were you after you won the regional, what was your like immediate reaction? Like what was your immediate next time you started prepping for the next event you were going to? Did you go to another event that year? Like what did that change anything about your Pokemon little journey winning that regional?
Mm, well, after 2013, I went to the Nationals, but I kind of split my team in two trying to help my dad compete.
Aw, that's really cool that your dad wanted to compete too.
Yeah, he dabbles from time to time, though not so much anymore.
That's really cool that he did
And
then.
and after Athens 2015, I didn't really compete in much in anything. I lost my Alpha Sapphire game, so I couldn't really do 2016.
Aw, how'd you lose
Well,
it? You just like misplaced it?
less misplaced it and more like someone barged in and took the game without me realizing.
And you never replaced it in all of 2016, so you never played in any events?
Correct?
That's sad. 2016 was the year my roommate in California convinced me to get Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And I actually lost my game too. I was using my DS case as a joint holder. And I think I accidentally kicked out the case out of the car when we were opening and closing the door at night. We were parked on a hill in a convertible, like a rental convertible. I think I just like literally like dropped it out of this car when we parked on a hill because it was in the car and then it wasn't. And I was devastated. But I ended up replacing my DS and the game. You just didn't do that, which is interesting to hear too.
To be honest, that was when they were having the Primal Legendaries, so missing out on that format didn't bother me too much.
Okay. Yeah, see, I
Though
didn't play
I am
competitive.
though I am annoyed because I had a bunch of my friends' Pokemon on that cartridge.
And yeah, you couldn't give them back. Or you couldn't help friend.
Yeah,
Yeah. Damn.
yeah.
And it was really hard to get Pokemon and make Pokemon back then, right?
Mostly legendary Pokemon. If it's just gendered Pokemon that could breed with anyone, it was pretty easy from Gen 6 onward. But if you were trying to get a good legendary Pokemon, that's when things got really tough because they didn't have bottle caps back then.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
until Sun and Moon.
What was the hardest Pokemon you've tried to catch that was just annoying the shit out of you?
As far as getting it perfect, well, any of the legendaries would be easy ones. Though I think the roughest one that we had to put together was a Hidden Power Ground Chandelure.
And because the hidden power ground, for hidden power to work, you had to be specific IVs, right?
Yeah,
Oh, that's annoying. That is so annoying, actually, without bottle caps, too. It's just all luck.
yeah, yeah. And even though they don't have And even though they don't have hidden power usable in the regular games, they still have the formula for it. Just look at Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl.
Oh, you mean the game? It's still programmed into the game. Like you could find out your Pokemon's hidden power.
That's right.
Did not know that. I know
Yeah.
Diamond and Pearl was just a big copy. Was hidden power in that game? Because I know that game wasn't competitive at all.
Yeah, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, they had it in that game, though the game itself is filled with a lot of flaws, mostly because it's based off of the original Diamond and Pearl rather than Platinum itself.
I think they copy and pasted Diamond Pearl, which like really low key sucks because of how like spectacular ORAS was. I would say like it got me into Pokemon. Like it got me back into competitive. That Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl was like it felt as someone who explored that region. What's the region name again?
Sinnoh.
So that was my like first real time in Sinnoh, and it was very underwhelming after hearing all this good things about it over the years. So I hope they go really grand with the black and white remakes, because that's the next remake they're gonna make now that Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is over. I hope they get enough reception that it's like, yo, those games low key sucked. They were a copy paste. Let's get like a real big fucking spectacle like you guys did with ORAS. I hope the Pokemon Company does that.
Well, Diamond and Pearl by itself wasn't all that bad. The problem is it just kind of failed on a technical level. You would get caught on just about every corner. You couldn't control how much experience you got, so it was very easy for Pokemon to get over leveled. And while the gym leaders were pretty tough, which I like, there weren't really that many options for Pokemon to catch. Not unless you went underground.
Yeah, and the new ones you had to go underground. I only played like once and put it down. So I got, you know what, I got to, maybe I'll play through again if I got time. Nah.
If you do, I'd stick with Pokemon Platinum.
Oh, I should go back and play that one for the first time.
Yeah,
Okay.
though it's kind of expensive, so watch out.
Okay. Yeah, no, those old, I have the red, blue, yellow, I have those games over here somewhere. Yeah. I have them right behind the speaker. I have silver. You can't save on this silver though, which sucks. I have red. But what's it called? The Game Boy Advance games got lost to time because those were my favorite. I literally brought those everywhere I went. The Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Leaf Green, Fire Red. Like those were my games. Like those were my games. Middle school Tom. Oh my god, I was obsessed. So I
Yeah,
can't.
nowadays Emerald is really important. There's a lot of things you can do on that version that you can't do with any other.
Really? Like what?
Let's just say they had a lot of fun bugs.
What does that mean?
Pokemon Emerald. It means that with the kind of bugs that they have, it was really easy to get the Pokemon you wanted when you wanted them.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to raise them up too, right down to the EVs.
Because they had the power bracelet items, or
No, even better. They had a way to multiply rare candies.
oh, the waterfall, right?
Nope. The box at the battle tower.
Oh, I didn't know that. And you could just like make 100 rare candies out of nowhere.
Eh, not 100 at once, but like 5 at a time of any item.
And so Eevee, that was still the physical special split actually. So physical and
No,
oh, it was fixed by then.
nah, they had to split with Diamond and Pearl.
So like all fire moves were special in Diamond and Pearl too.
That's right.
I didn't
Wait,
realize that.
no. Diamond and Pearl is when you had the physical special split.
Yeah, so
Back with Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald,
it was
they still had all fire moves as special moves.
exactly. And I remember because I did a Nuzlocke league where we played Emerald, and that was really interesting. I was like, oh, all these moves, like I have it written down actually. An easy way to remember them is that if there's an evolution, it's a special type except for dragon. Like dragon's the only evolution without that was special. Without an evolution, dragon is the only type without an evolution that was special before this physical special split, and that's how I've been remembering it. It's like grass, Leafeon, ice, Iceon, psychic, Espeon. You know, like if it's got an evolution, it's a special type. And then a physical were normal, fighting, poison, ground, flying, bug, rock, ghost, and steel. All of them were physical. Yeah. But, dude. So now we're in like 2016-ish. 2017, what game was out?
I think that was the start of Sun and Moon.
And did you get back into Pokemon then?
I think I joined back again in 2018.
2018. Okay. And what was that like, your reintroduction after winning a regional and coming back to compete for the first time in a couple of years?
It went okay. I went to the Georgia or Charlotte one again.
Okay.
But this was the but that regional ended up being just a few days after they introduced Incineroar. The Incineroar.
Wait, Incineroar?
Incineroar. Yep.
So was it legal in the tournament too?
Yep, got legal a few days before Charlotte.
That's just them being like a big fuck you to everyone practicing that. Was it a shock drop or like how did that work out? Did you know it was coming?
Well, I was already planning on using Incineroar, but once I found out that it got Intimidate, I had to make some last second adjustments. I ended up using both Incineroar and Chandelure in the same team. And I got top 16 again.
Let's go, Jerry.
Though seeing Incineroar like that did leave kind of a bad taste in my mouth.
Why?
Well, for starters, it stepped on Chandelure's non-existent toes a lot. What with being another fire type. Plus with it having Intimidate as disposal, it was very easy for it to be used by just about anyone.
Yeah, cycling the Intimidates and whatnot.
Yeah, I made a habit to not use it.
I remember this generation, Series 12. Last generation, Series 12. You were talking about how you were like, have you thought about using Chandelure over Incineroar? I'm like, no, I need the Intimidate too much, but that's a very funny switch if I ended up making that. And I thought about it after you recommended it too, but I didn't pull the trigger on it. Actually, I wish I did because I didn't win anything anyway. I just kept going X4. So I might as well have done something like that. But I like that. But any other Pokemon that you like, I don't like this because it steps on the, the non-existent toes of my Chandelure.
Yeah. Though, as far as Incineroar itself, I just thought it was a little bit overrated. The Intimidate and the Parting Shot was really nice, but it also invites Thundurus to give it a really brutal time.
With Defiant.
Not only that, but it's also a physical fire type, so it can't really do much if it's getting intimidated itself.
Yeah. We saw people using Snarl and what was the special fire move they were using too? Fuck. Incinerate?
Burning Jealousy.
Burning Jealousy, that was it. Yes. So we did see special versions of it this season. I mean, this past generation.
Yeah, Burning Jealousy was mainly there to get around other Defiant Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah. It worked. Like that. It worked when it worked.
Yeah. Though me personally, I like using Chandelure more. Mostly because it gave Groudon more offensive pressure. It was able to burn other Groudons, and as long as it didn't have a lot of speed, it could also deal with Lunalas.
And a lot of Lunalas were going slower, too.
Yeah, they had to get that good Trick Room somehow.
Oh, so that's really interesting, actually, too. And this was 2018, you said, right?
2022.
Oh, 2022.
Yeah, Series 12, 2022.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we're talking. I thought we were still in Sun and Moon, but no. Let's go back to Sun and Moon. So you played Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and then what's after that? It was Galar after that, right? Because fuck,
Yeah,
let's go Pikachu and Eevee.
but once I finished up with the regular national deck Sun and Moon, I took a break to focus on the trading card game.
Tell me about that. I would love to hear about this. How did that go?
Well, it was mostly me being disappointed with the prize pools with the video game. It was largely something done out of greed. I ended up, I ended up switching over to the trading card game for a while, but I kind of realized after a couple of years they tend to be a lot more unforgiving there too.
Really?
Because yeah, you got to remember with the trading card, there's a lot more human hands involved, which means that there's a lot more, which means that there's a lot more, what's the word, questionable calls that end up getting made there. Mostly because of how easy it is to just get a tie game.
Mm. So you're really up to the hands of the judges.
That's right.
I don't like that. I don't like anything that's that subjective.
Yeah. Plus, it took a lot of time to get through the matches, so it was very easy to end up spending the whole day doing it and not get anything else done.
Well, that's how I feel with VGC sometimes. When I'm streaming on Twitch and playing Pokemon, we'll do it for 10 hours and then be like, oh, I didn't do anything but play Pokemon today. And I had a blast. I'm not going to lie. I had a blast doing it, but it's easy to get lost in the sauce with this stuff.
Yeah. At least with the video game, your matches will take no longer than 35 minutes for a set.
Well, like a best of 3 will take sometimes. Like if they all go to 20-minute timer, it'll take an hour. But yeah, you're right. It'll mostly be 35 to 40 minutes on the higher end. And sometimes I'm like, I win 2-0 or lose 2-0 and it's just over quick. And I'm like, wait, that was like a 10-15 minute match. Holy fuck. Those either feel really good or really bad.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, Jerry, I loved your team last season too for Series 12, but now let's get into Series 1 and 2. How have you been liking the Scarlet Violet game and the meta, and what's been piquing your interest in this new format?
Hmm. Well, outside of Don Dozo, I've really been liking the format a lot. Though most of my though most of my attention ends up going to actually nothing in particular. They didn't have Chandelure in the Pokedex, so my mind's just been scattered about a lot.
Yeah, it's like, where do I start? That's real. I wish that Chandelure had the fire Chandelure, like the fire chandelier on its head, that the fire type Terra is. That would have looked really cool too.
That would be kind of crazy.
You're really like, wait, where do I start team building without Chandelure? Like, that's being a dead serious thought in your head. I love it. That's fucking incredible. I wish I had a Pokemon I was like that with.
Well, first I started off with Hydreigon. That was another Pokemon that I really liked.
Yeah.
And then I tried to see what I could do with Tinkaton and Armarouge.
You kicked my ass with the Tinkatink you were using against me. And Armarouge is really cool. What do you think about Cerulean, the same typing as Chandelure?
I used it as part of my regular team for the main adventure, But outside of that, I don't really like it.
I kind of do
It
like it. I don't like how it could get walled by like a Terra Dark Armorage if it only has Shadow Sneak and Bitterblade. But what don't you like about it? I'm curious because I've been kind of wanting to slap it on a team, but I haven't yet because I haven't figured out the right way to use it. Maybe I'm wrong and it just is not as good as I'm thinking it might be.
yeah. Is a physical fire and ghost type. And fire already didn't really have a lot of good moves outside of Flare Blitz. And its only other good fire move is Bitter Blade.
I don't know the
And
base
while
power.
that's good and while that's good because of the healing factor, it only really has fire to rely on.
It's not
It
picking up the
doesn't have
KOs either.
Yeah. The strongest reliable ghost move that it has is Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak.
Yeah, that's not the best either.
Yeah. And
Huh.
you don't really have a lot of strong ghost moves. Sure, there's Phantom Force, but it takes 2 turns.
I do like that it goes through Protect, but you're 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Indeedee, I would
Plus,
shut down Shadow Sneak too.
yeah.
Huh.
That and being an intimidator is just a solid invitation for anything using intimidate.
Yeah, so
Though
huh.
though I haven't really seen a lot of intimidate lately.
Arcanine's coming
Well,
back with a
outside
big
of
one.
Arcanine.
Arcanine's coming back.
Mm.
Arcanine's coming back. Tauros was everywhere too, actually.
Fire or water?
Water.
Mm.
But why
Yeah.
don't you like Dondozo? Let's talk about. You mentioned that you like the format except Dondozo. Let's go off on Dozo for a minute. Tell me about your thoughts on Dozo.
Yeah. What I don't like about Dondozo is that it's just one huge stat stick.
Yeah.
It doubles its stats with help from Tatsugiri, and that's pretty much it. And because of how its stats are set up, it's very easy for it to be a bulky Pokemon that's hard to take out, that's constantly boosting its own stats and dealing a lot of damage.
Yeah, Order Up is crazy with it too. Getting the speed boost or the attack boosts, like on top of all the other boosts, it really adds up quick to make that thing hit really hard too.
Though there's something else that bothers me even more.
What?
When you when you switch in a Pokemon on your other when you switch out one of your other Pokemon to bring in Tatsugiri, not only does it instantly go into Dondozo to boost its stats, but also whatever attacks that you had aimed at the Tatsugiri slot for that turn,
Miss.
they automatically miss.
Yeah.
And that's one bit of programming that really irks me. The attacks should be going straight into the Dondozo.
Yeah. So you, if it redirected all the attacks into the Dozo, you would like it better.
Yeah, if it at least did that, it would be fine. But it's very easy now to just have your attacks get wasted entirely just because you didn't hard call a switch.
It makes those calls so much more important. Where if they stay in with whatever Pokemon and attack, they're in a better situation most of the time too. Huh.
Yeah,
That's interesting. That's another little fold, a wrinkle in the whatever fold. I didn't really think about it like that. Okay.
yeah. It kind of points another finger at Scarlet and Violet's faulty programming.
Are there any other big programming issues you've seen?
Hmm.
I know there's been a bunch of bugs, but like anything that sticks out to you like that otherwise?
Well, there was that early bug where you can make duplicates of ability patches once you got your ride Pokemon as a regular Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I should ask.
And there was a thing back in day one where if you gave your Koraidon or another Pokemon in your party an item, if you press B at the right time once you caught a new Pokemon, and sent Koraidon back to the box, you could get a duplicate of whatever item it was holding. Early on, that was how a lot of people got ability patches.
Mm. I didn't realize that. That's a very easy switch too. It feels like that's like a very easy one to get done. Huh.
Yeah, it got patched out really quick, but I wouldn't. But it would have been nice if it stayed around as another fun bug. Who knows? Maybe they'll just make it easier to get ability patches in general.
Yeah, I'm out of ability patches actually. I gotta get more.
Yeah. Honestly, the only thing you need the ability patches for are for the starter Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
and the legendaries.
Yeah, yeah. So I have time. I have time. But
You do.
Jerry, we're at the 40-minute mark. So is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here today? Because I actually got to call it a day earlier than usual. I try to go 45 to an hour. And yeah, no, this was a really cool conversation. I loved hearing about your little Pokemon journey, man. You know I love talking to you too. So like, I had a blast recording this. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here today?
Hmm. Probably the importance of getting into other games
Oh,
too.
yes.
How they
Wait.
translate into the Pokemon games now.
Let's talk about it. So you've actually recommended Fire Emblem to me multiple times, and I would love to hear you talk about why you think that is helps your positioning and what other games help you play Pokemon better.
I play a lot of puzzle games in general, but but one game that I've really been getting into lately is Fire Emblem. While there is an importance on having good stats that you train up through your characters, another thing that comes up a lot with the game is how important positioning is. Just having your characters in the right place at the right time will ends up playing a huge part in how well your overall run goes.
And how does
Like I
timing work in that game?
well, positioning with the Fire Emblem revolves more around where you have your characters placed and which enemies try to go against it as soon as their turn comes around. So as far as Pokemon, it's more about when you have your Pokemon placed, what Pokemon are coming out in which order when they get knocked out, and how speed ends up factoring into how everyone attacks. You saw before with the first place winner for San Diego how he didn't really have a lot of speed control,
Nope.
but he made use of a lot of good priority moves.
I think he didn't have any speed control. I think you said that, and I looked it up. I think you were right. I think he only used priority moves as his form of speed control.
That's right.
That's super interesting to see.
Yeah, fighting like that usually ends up leaving you with not a lot of a safety net. So a lot of focus ends up getting put on your bulk and your general knowledge of the game.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of folks end up. A lot of folks want to put emphasis on being able to settle matches quickly, but being able to understand just what you can give and take is pretty important. That's probably why a lot of folks aren't really using booster energy all that much for speed, at least in Series 2 so far.
I've seen it mostly attack and special attack, depending on what Pokemon is on.
Yeah, I saw some I saw some Flutter mains using booster energy for their speed, but you still gotta worry about stuff like Iron Bundle using Icy Wind to lower everyone's speed anyways. Or worse, Grimmsnarls with Thunder Wave.
I haven't seen a lot of those, but maybe I should add it to my team.
Yeah, dual screens is still strong.
Actually, dual screens with Garganical and Torkoal in my team would be really good. And, you know, maybe I'll drop in Beatty for Grimmsnarl, because that helps Mimikyu too. And then I would get Fake Out Trick Room. Huh, Jerry. Wait, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I literally have my Switch in my hand. I'm doing the Beanie Brawl. Today, we're recording on January 18th, and this episode's going to come out in January 30th. That's when this one's going to be scheduled to come out. So, hopefully this Grimmsnarl light bulb you just hit me with works out. Oh my god, I think Grimmsnarl might be the missing piece.
Just try not to focus too much on getting up Trick Room.
That's what Knight Rider told me, too.
Like, yeah, Trick Room is strong, but it's not really something that you should base a strategy around. It's mostly just a punish for anyone that tries to rely on Trick Room themselves, or if they try using stuff like Tailwind.
Oh, I've been using Trick Room as a crutch. I've been using it to just try to get eruptions off and go crazy. You know, no, I'm not changing my team. I'm not changing it to Grimmsnarl on the game because we have 15 minutes until the tournament starts. So I'm not going to change it right now in the game, but I'm going to change it in Showdown. And
maybe you should focus on using Torkoal as an anti-Trick Room option.
Can you explain that a little bit to me? Like I'm a 5-year-old. Like, how would you do that?
Well, Torkoal is at base 20 speed, so it's going to be outrunning pretty much everything that isn't a Slowpoke while Trick Room is up.
And even if it's a Slowpoke, fuck it. I don't care.
And you have been seeing a lot of Trick Room combos with Farigiraf and Iron Hands.
Yes.
Yeah. Rather than trying to set up Trick Room yourself and beat them, Torkoal itself is enough to keep them from using Trick Room anyways. So you could just focus on attacking once you have that set up.
Okay. I see what you're saying. And then just use my team around it outside of Trick Room. And if I need Torkoal, it's there for me.
Yeah. Focus on keeping Torkoal in the back and punish anyone that's dumb enough to use Trick Room on their team. And maybe every now and again you could use Trick Room yourself in case someone tries something sneaky.
I like that actually. And then if most people are not dumb enough to get Trick Room against me, but if I go with a faster comp, like let's say I had a Roaring Moon or the Flutter Mane, and then I have a Torkoal and a Brute Bonnet, like I could really go hybrid with either one. I don't know. I gotta do more testing though. I feel like I just haven't played enough of this format to really get a feel for it yet, you know?
Yeah. Grimmsnarl tends to help hybrid teams a lot.
So yeah, I think actually if it's not too late to change my team, I might add Grimmsnarl like legit right now. Let me go to Limitless, TCG sign in. It might be too late. Oh no, it's not. Oh, I haven't checked in yet either. So let me go to Showdown. Team Builder.
Is the podcast still going?
Oh yeah, the podcast. I'm so sorry. Yeah, podcast is still going. I'm teaching my Grimmsnarl Spirit Breaking game over Sucker Punch, I think. And yeah, no. Now the rest of this podcast, I guess, is just gonna be me getting ready for the Beanie Bro, which is unfair to you. But dude, I had such a fun time talking to you. Like, thank you so much for your time and coming on. Like, I really can't say that enough. Like, this was a really cool episode, hearing about this, like, VGC history, you know? Like, as someone who doesn't know it, I love hearing about the old games and, like, the old times and, like, how your Pokemon journey, you know, how you navigated it and got to where you are, man. Like, it's really cool to me. So, like, again, I can't say thank you enough for coming on.
I enjoy sharing my experience with other people.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of the episodes that gets really good reception, too. Like, I think people are going to love hearing your story, man. And I think that's a great place to end the podcast, so I'm going to stop the recording here. Thank you, anyone who's still listening, and I'll see you next time.